Some information coming up right here for our next speaker is going to be off the charts. Most of us have had the opportunity to spend a couple minutes with her. She's absolutely phenomenal. She is sharp. I love the fact that she's also a Washington Husky like myself. They come from her and her husband came down here from Seattle, Washington. And our first speaker today is none other than Arwen Becker. She and her husband are co-founders and co-owners of Becker Retirement Group for the last 23 years. After she took over lead generation in 2017, they witnessed an unexpected and explosive increase in leads. That is music to our ears right there. In less than 3 years, they doubled their revenue, dramatically increased their profit, and they hired more advisors. And because of that massive success, Arwen created a training platform that teaches advisors how to thrive in women's marketing. A published author, a podcast host, Arwen speaks nationally and is often featured as a guest on TD Ameritrade Network, Yahoo Finance, and many others. And we are so proud and honored to have her here with us today. As the second shortest player on a Division I volleyball team, which is crazy because you look at her and she's awesomely tall, but she is the second shortest player on a Division I volleyball team. Arwen learned that hard work is more valuable than natural talent. Amen to that. She also learned that preparation will help you get through just about anything, including a cougar attack. Let that sit in for a second. Now, this morning, she's going to be sharing her thoughts on massive wealth transfer to women, stretching your marketing dollars and effortlessly multiplying referrals. So with that being said, please give a very warm morning welcome, a Nashville style, to the one and only Arwen Becker.
Yes, I was attacked by a cougar, but it wasn't like somebody's crazy ex-wife. But you know what? We will talk about her in a little bit. I was in Texas, and I headed to baggage claim, and I ran into a couple of advisors that I knew, and they were doing what advisors do, talking business. Oh my gosh, let me tell you about my events that I had last night. The results were terrible. I had 10 people at it, and 2 of them were my clients. God, I know exactly what you're saying. And with digital marketing, it's even still so expensive. Then after a little bit, they turned and asked me how things were with me. You know, things have actually been pretty good. See, we started marketing to women, and I can't even believe, before I had even completed my sentence, both of them began to chime in. No, marketing to women, no, that's not for me. Yeah, let me tell you, I did a couple of those events. The results were terrible. There were so many more non-qualified people there. So here they were. Both of them were complaining about not having enough leads. One of them was considering quitting the business because of it, yet in the same breath, they were both telling me all the reasons why marketing to women wasn't for them or didn't work. One of them never even tried. The other did 2 events, didn't get the expected results, and then said, it doesn't work. Did I mention that they were both female advisors? See, the majority of advisors look at women as a niche. It's a lead source they know exists, but it's not part of their marketing arsenal. And there's really 2 main reasons why I've seen this. One, they're men, and they think, I think only women are good at marketing to women. Or 2, whether male or female, they apply traditional, tried and trusted methods of marketing. It falls short, and then they say, it doesn't work. Now, by show of hands, how many of you first of all, how many of you are life-only producers? Okay, so and the rest are financial advisors, pretty much? Okay. Now, how many of you have ever done a seminar or a dinner event or a college-type course where you have multiple people in the room and you're talking to them? Okay, I'd say it's a good majority of the room. Okay, now how many of you have ever done a women-only event? And let me put a caveat. not your Galentine's event, okay? A women-only event. Okay, so we've dropped the room to about 20%. Okay, now, how many of you do them consistently? I'm talking 25% of the time of your marketing. 1. Look around. This is how wide open this space is. I'm telling you, it's an awesome area to tap into. But for those of you who are thinking, well, I might take the next 56 minutes and 56 seconds, head out, get myself a snack, check on some emails, talk to some people that I want to talk to that are not in this room. Hence, I think the gentlemen that we were talking about so much last night are not in the front row. You can talk to them out there because I don't do seminars. So this whole conversation that Arwen's having, it doesn't apply to me. Please don't zone me out. If you're marketing to the general public, I promise you this applies to you. You might be doing TV, you might be doing radio, maybe you're writing a book, you're doing commercials, and if you're doing that with everybody in mind, there is a massive segment in your market being totally missed. What I'm talking about today is recognizing the segment, addressing them differently, and capturing more leads. Even if you don't do seminars, I promise you, this will help you in your sales process. This will help you connecting through radio, TV, when you're writing a book. I promise you, it will help. My husband, Randy, and I launched our retirement planning firm in 2000. The Great Recession hit us so hard, we nearly lost everything. In the years to follow, we would find ourselves more than $500,000 in debt. And the worst part about it was we were spending upwards of $14,000 to try and fill 2 nights of seminars with 30 people. 30 bodies, not 30 households. The lack of leads and therefore commission was absolutely suffocating us. I couldn't handle it. And the thing is, we weren't alone. Tom even mentioned it. Do you realize 88% of the individuals who get into this business quit in the first 3 years? The number one reason is lack of leads. I know, because I was suffocating under the weight of it. And in 2016, I checked myself into the ER. I thought I was having a heart attack. Come to find out, just debilitating stress that they solved by Mylanta. I was done. I wanted out. And so I initiated the sale of my half of our 17-year practice. Laid off employees, put others on notice, had the email set to go to our 600 clients, and I will never forget, Friday night before final signatures with the buyer on Saturday morning, we finally told our boys, "What do you mean? You and Dad aren't going to work together anymore?" They were devastated. Everybody was, especially my husband. And so Saturday morning, I woke up a couple hours before meeting with the buyer, and I went for a run. And I felt like I was being told very clearly, deep in my spirit, "Arwen, you go forward with the sale of the practice, that will end your marriage." So we arrive at the office. We're sitting around the round table. Randy's sitting next to me, and the buyer's across the table, and he slides the last set of paperwork across for me to sign. "I'm so sorry. I know on paper this makes sense, but it's not right for my family." And I called it off. But Sunday night, the thought of going back to that company I thought I was leaving behind on Monday morning, it just became too much for me. "Randy, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. How am I supposed to go back?" I've never had a panic attack. I've never had one a day in my life since. But the pressure was just too much for me. I didn't know how to handle it. Yet Monday morning still came. And I woke up and I did the only thing that I knew to do. I went to work. But that simple, innocuous act of me not quitting, of not giving up on everything that mattered to me, my company, my employees, my clients, my husband, just to fix a stupid lead problem. It ignited something in me. It gave me the courage to do something I had never considered doing before. Randy, I know it sounds crazy, but I don't know, I just feel like I should take over all the lead generation, all the marketing. See, he had done it for the first 17 years, partly because of his own weary soul. He was tired, but also because he loved me enough, he agreed. You know what, honey? If you want that job, go for it. Do it your way. But I'd never given a seminar. I'd never even generated a single lead. I had never even done any public speaking, but I just dove in head first. I couldn't do Randy's seminar. He had created it. It didn't feel authentic for me, so I created my own seminar. It had no PowerPoint. It was just a whiteboard. And then I was asked to pilot another seminar, which had a 200 PowerPoint slide deck. Awful. And then I was introduced to my first women's event. So within 6 months, I had learned 3 different seminars, and I sucked at all of them because I was just busy chasing the shiny object. Okay, so this is what we're going to work on. Oh, no, we're going to work on this. Oh, no, we're going to work on this. Taxes, market risk, inflation, annuities, the good, bad, and the ugly. Oh, dear God, why do we do that to ourselves? Is it because, I just have so much free time and I love learning new seminars? No. We do it to differentiate ourselves from the advisor down the block and to generate more leads. The number one constraint we all face in this business. So, after 6 months running around like a crazy woman, something began to happen. Well, I began getting better, but I also started to experience this unique traction when marketing to women. We were filling rooms. That hadn't happened for us since the Great Recession. And you know what? Women were coming up to me enthusiastically. Arwen, you wouldn't believe it. I could eat on financial advisors in this town probably 2-3 nights a week with the amount of invitations I received. But yours, that's the first that ever said women only on it. And you know what I fell in love with? The fact that these women were truly hungry for the message that I had. They weren't just there for a free dinner. Imagine filling rooms with the same marketing cost. So today, I'm going to illuminate 3 myths to a very lucrative and undermarketed lead source, and tips on how to, going the wrong way, sorry about that, and tips on how to access it. So myth number 1, women are a niche. Myth number 2, female advisors, planners, and agents are naturally better at marketing to women. And myth number 3, traditional and generic messaging and methods of marketing reaches everyone equally. All right, so we're going to start with myth number 1. Women are a niche. If you prefer niche, I apologize. I just don't, okay? Hey, Arwen, gosh, it's so great. I hear that you're doing those women's events. That's wonderful. It's just so good that you're serving that niche. Niche? Here's what I know about this cute little niche. Women are the largest segment of the US and Canadian population. They're the greatest holders of wealth now in our country. And in the next 10 years, women are estimated to inherit 2/3 of the $30 trillion being transferred via inheritance from baby boomers. Think of your career in the next 10 years. 2/3 of the 30 trillion, which means women are going to hold north of 60% of US wealth. Women! How can that be a niche? The largest segment of the US population and the greatest holders of wealth now are in our country. And the thing is, I'm not alone in that assessment. Forbes, Pershing, Lord Abbott, Investment News, they've all written white papers in the last number of years with this title or something very close to it. Women are not a niche market. They are a massive business opportunity. So that's why it would benefit all of you to make sure that you're serving it well. But let's get real for a second. Here's the reason why she needs you. Average age that a woman is widowed is 59. Women live longer. They need more money. A woman will spend on average 15% of her working years caring for children or ailing parents, compared to 1.6% for a man, which means she's putting less into her Social Security and less into her retirement plans. 80% of men die married, which means 80% of women die single. She will be the last woman standing, left to handle it, and that includes her finances. All of my books start with the title of She Handled It. And the first time I ever used that term was when I was interviewed and I was asked about my mom. That's who's up there. A woman who handled it. Started from less than zero at 45 as a lunch lady at my rival junior high and had enough to retire by the time she was in her late 60s. But it was a lot of sacrifice on her part, and yet she was extraordinarily fortunate that her daughter became a financial advisor. There are hundreds of thousands of women out there who are just like my mom, who want and need your help. Maybe your mom was like mine, struggled financially. Maybe your grandmother or your daughter or a sister. Or maybe, like me, you were that woman. Hello, divorced at 24 with a zoology degree? Doesn't really scream financial security. When you make these women a priority, you will explode your practice. You know, Arwen, it's great, noble and everything, making women a priority and everything, but can you tell me how that's going to really explode my practice? It's a good question. First of all, are you aware that the average financial professional generates 25 new appointments in a year? No wonder 88% don't make it past year 3 in this business. Lack of leads, suffocating them. When we started marketing to women, within 2.5 years, we were generating on average 19 first appointments a night. And that was in 2 nights a month with less than 35 people in the room. My second full year, as I'm holding up 3, that doesn't make any sense. My second full year, I generated 419 first appointments. I was feeding 4 advisors, and 3 of them were men. See, the thing is, we just got good at marketing to women over time. And within 2.5 years of starting to market to women, it went from 0% of our marketing to 80% of our marketing. It took our 17-year company, doubled its revenue in 2.5 years. Our profitability went from 29%, next year 39%, next year 45%, and in June of 22, our profitability was 52%, and we sold our company for 20 times what I was going to sell it for in 2016. God, I want this for you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the difference between a traditional event and a women-only event. And again, do not let it get lost on you if you do not do seminars. Seminars are just a really great way to see how marketing to women differs. But this is across the board. All types of marketing, whether that be digital, again, TV, radio, it has to be something different. So watch this. This was happening to us all the time in the Seattle area, all the time. But this example I'm going to give is very, very interesting because it was 2 weeks apart. Okay, so first night we had, our first event was a traditional event, okay, open to everyone. And then 2 weeks later, it was women only. All right? Everything about these events was identical. It was the same venue. It was a Tuesday and Thursday. It was the same start time. We did a 7,500-piece mailer and a Facebook add-on campaign. It went to the exact same zip codes 2 weeks apart. Now, keep in mind, if over-marketing and saturation was going to be an issue, that would affect the women's event because it was 2 weeks later. Everything about these events was identical. There was no strange weather. There were no holidays to affect results. So here's what happened. Traditional event, 33 people attended. But that was only 19 households, since many of them were couples. 19 households is not awesome. Didn't even hit my food minimum one night, and I barely hit it the second night, even after I invited clients to it. But of those 19, 13 scheduled a first appointment, and 2 became a new client. So how does that compare to the women's event 2 weeks later? 84 women attended. The only difference, all 84 of these represent a household. And of those 84, 48 scheduled a first appointment, and of those 48, 7 became a new client. Now, you might be thinking, well, I mean, women on average have less money. Well, and that's true. The Seattle area, where we are, that was typically about $90,000 less per household. And yes, many of the attendees are married. So it does require a little bit of finesse to be able to get her in for an appointment when her spouse isn't there. It's something that I train my advisors on. It absolutely can be done. It just takes a little bit of practice. So of those 2 clients, they generated an ROI of 3.8. 3.8 OR is all right. The only problem was we were still digging out of the hole created by the Great Recession. We needed more octane in the tank. It wasn't enough. My women's event, sorry guys, a little scratchy on the pack, I guess. I like to move, so you'll just have to deal with it. Of those 48, and then the appointments made, we ended up landing 7 clients. The ROI was 8.5, more than double the ROI we had from our traditional event. Dollars and cents, this one generated $850,000 of new assets. My women's event, $2.3 million. God, it's so awesome when you tap into this. So besides having more households in the room, there's actually 2 facts that most advisors and agents are completely unaware of when it comes to marketing to women. Fact number 1, 73% of widowed women will leave their financial advisor upon the passing of their spouse within year 1. Number 1 reason, lack of communication. She didn't have a relationship with you. That means you have these women who are now in full control of all the assets of their household, and they are actively looking for someone who is going to serve her with intention in the way that she best learns. It's always good to keep in mind, too, because you want to make sure that you have a great relationship with the women that are part of a couple in your practice, because otherwise they're going to go looking somewhere else. Okay, so that's fact number 1. But fact number 2, That's the game changer. Women refer 3 times more than men do. And you don't even have to work at it. Because what did women naturally do? We talk. We share. Good and bad. And I'll talk a little bit about the bad later. And the thing is, it's not only that you'll get referrals directly into your practice, which of course is the best thing. But if you do any sort of outside marketing, this continually filled our events over time. Because when we started marketing to women, we were averaging about 19 households in a room a night. Okay, not appointments, just households in attendance. Year 2, we were averaging 23 households a night. Year 3, we were averaging 29 households a night. And we didn't add 1 extra penny of marketing. Because this, if any of you do events, this is gold. Whether they're traditional events or women's events, absolutely do this at the end of your event. Once dinners are all served, you go around the table and you thank them for coming. And then you say, by the way, you probably had somebody in your mind you were thinking, man, she needed to hear this message. Let me tell you, you can absolutely bring her back with you and have dinner on me again. There's no shame in that. And they always laugh when I say it. What did I just do? I gave her permission to eat on me again, because women are communal. They want to come with a friend. They don't want to come alone. I gave her permission, and it's a lot less expensive for me to buy her another $50 dinner than for my mailing house in Florida to get me a cold prospect into that room. So this will continue to fill your events for you. It is a game changer. So let me show it to you this way. So for the first 17 years, Randy and I, my husband, we had no idea this lead source even existed. When I finally took over all of the marketing, I thought I was marketing to everyone. Then I was introduced to this women's thing, and I'm like, well, I'll serve this little niche over here. And then I actually discovered through time and data that I was actually serving the largest segment of the US population and the majority that are going to end up alone. And that group refers 3 times more. It is a game changer. You make women a priority, I'm telling you, it will transform your practice. All right, so that brings us to the end of myth number 1. And again, that myth is women are niche. No, we've actually found out women are the largest segment of the population and the greatest holders of wealth now in our country, and that's only increasing. All right, so let's head on to myth number 2. And that is female agents, planners, advisors are naturally better at marketing to women. When I started giving women's events, I was told by a very successful female advisor, men absolutely could not be in the room, would negatively affect the results. I didn't know any better, so I believed her. So that meant for the first year and a half, the first 18 events that I gave, co-owner of our company, 34-year planner, my husband Randy, did not see me give this event. Only female support staff, only a female presenter, and only a female advisor could run those leads. That is what I had been told. But they became so astronomically successful, something had to change. I was the only female advisor at the time. I couldn't handle the number of leads. And my support staff were so overworked. So we made a change. Our male support team started working at the events, and we started having our male advisors helping out as well. And we discovered immediately it made no bearing on the event. Because it's not who the presenter is, it's not who the support team is, it's about what happens at the table. Women feel safe and secure when they can sit with other women and learn about things that provide them fear, that bring up shame, and a lot of the difficult feelings that women have surrounding money, especially if we're divorced at 50 and we didn't get the education, right? So it's that matters. And so we found out men actually could be very successful at running these leads. And so yes, for those of you, oops, I think I'm hitting the wrong button. So men could be very successful, but for those of you gentlemen out there, because I know there are some of you that are going, yeah, you know, I love my widowed clients, my divorced clients, they just adore me. But actually giving a women's event, absolutely. And here's why. First of all, I have an advisor friend of mine down in Southern California, and he was asked to pilot a women's event, and he knocked it out of the park day one. And come to find out, the reason why he was so successful right from the beginning was because he was a pastor in a previous vocation. He knew through all of his years in ministry, you talk to men one way, you talk to women one way, and you talk to teenagers another way. And the thing is, advisors would call him up, and they're like, man, it's not working for me. I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong. And he would ask them one question. What analogies are you using? Sports? Cars? And he'd be like, Division I athlete, I'm an endurance athlete. I love sports analogies, but I am not the woman that you're trying to reach. This is about connecting with the vulnerable pieces, the things that she can connect with. He talks about his 4 daughters. They love the fact that he is a daughter dad, right? So yes, men can be successful, and I have multiple advisors all across the nation that I train that are filling events over and over and over again. And so yes, it absolutely can be done, but it just takes practice. And still, if you're thinking, I'm not sure, I mean, getting a lot of them in a room, that seems a little overwhelming, a little scary. Well, let me just tell you, here I am standing in a room mostly made of men. I have had to do it my entire career. I know what that feels like. It takes courage to stand up and to be the odd woman out, and it's the same thing for you. It's caring enough for the women in your community to be willing to stand up and give them a part of you and be the odd man out. But it can be done, and it is being done. But still, just a lot of people are too fearful of it. So yes, men absolutely can succeed at marketing to women, but you know what I've also found? Marketing to women is not intuitive, even for women. I had a wonderful opportunity to watch a veteran advisor give her traditional event, open to everyone. This woman was so good at it, booked 70+% of the room every night. She was so good, she trains other advisors nationally. She's that good. So she was asked to pilot a women's event. She thought, why not? Sounds like a good plan. She learned her content, very professional, thought, I'll just add this as an additional lead source to our practice. And then she came to report her data. She couldn't figure out why, when she was used to 70%, making appointments, and being a woman, why she only booked 31% of the room. And I realized that day, marketing to women is not intuitive, even for women. Because I was just like her, booking 30% of the room when I began. And what I discovered, and stick with me for a moment on this one, is because our industry is predominantly male, does not make it bad. It just means that we tend to speak a masculine language, men and women in this business. For the majority of women that I have met throughout my career that really do well in this business tend to fall into a masculine energy because they've had to in order to survive in it. But when you start marketing to women, you have to be willing to change. This is what makes it hard for most of us. This was hard for me. I grew up as a tomboy. I had mostly guy friends. I didn't know how to enter into this, but it just took some practice. Care, concern, vulnerability. Those are the things that women are going to lean in, and I know that we've had multiple speakers have talked about it. It's about trust and building that. And the only way you're going to do that with a lot of women is being willing to get vulnerable. And that is hard for most of us. And so, yes, it absolutely can be done. And so I do have a QR code. It's also out at my booth as well, and I'll have it up towards the end. I have free training that talks a lot about the differences of men and women, and you'll be able to get a lot of these little nuggets that will just help you in your sales process to make a better connection with your female audience and your female clients when they come in. Okay, but as I said, I'll make sure that that's back up at the end. So the number one way, and we have heard it from multiple people, and it's pretty much what Tom said was a big part of this event. Number one way to connect with your female audience, this is it. Teach through story. And I know we've been told it, but it's true. When you teach through story, it allows women to connect your content and these concepts that many of them do not have understanding of to something that they can connect with. Doesn't even necessarily mean that they're going to remember what it is that you said specifically, but they will remember your story. I've had women 6 months later. I met a woman at a marathon about 3 months ago. We were checking in at the time she came to my event. She said, "Wait, was your mom a seamstress? Did you talk about your mom being a seamstress?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was also a financial advisor, and she apologized that she came to my event because she wanted to see what I was doing. She sent me $100. I said, "Well, you're welcome for the $100 dinner," because it was the nicest restaurant we do it at. Most of them aren't that expensive. And she sent me $100 after that. It was funny. She said, "I'm so sorry." And I'm like, you know what? I'm here to serve people. I love it. If you get an idea, I can't serve everybody. Go serve women in your community. I think that's great. So yes, teach through story. Because, I could tell a woman, Gloria, you need to prepare for the unexpected. That's just the right thing to do. You put it on a data side. Or I could teach Gloria about planning for the unexpected, the unknown, like a great recession, loss of a spouse, a black swan event. I could teach her like this. When I graduated with my zoology degree, I went to work at a wildlife rehabilitation center. I loved this job. And one of my most favorite parts of the job was taking care of this gorgeous, tawny brown, super soft, 110-pound cougar named Sasha. And she was one of our permanent residents. And she was glorious. And so one day I was heading to her enclosure, and Judy, one of the volunteers, stopped me. Arwen, can I go in and take pictures with Sasha while you're playing with that rope toy? Yeah, I was heading there right now. Yeah, let's go do it. So Judy and I head to Sasha's enclosure. I hand Judy the rope toy. I open up the first chain link door, and I walk in. Judy shuts it behind me. I reach up to grab the second chain link door, and at that point, Sasha saw me from up on her perch. And as she's jumping down, coming over to me, she's chittering. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And then she came over, and she was rubbing the scent glands of her face up against my thigh, and then this deep, magnificent purr began. Her purr was so loud, you could feel it inside your own chest. It was amazing. So I hear Judy shut the second chain link door, reach back quickly, grab the rope toy. Something changed. Sasha's ears went flat back against her head. She was bearing her 2-inch canines, and I heard a deep, guttural growl I had never heard. And then she lunged, biting down really hard on my left thigh. And then she let go, and with these huge paws, almost the size of my hands, she wrapped them tightly around my waist, and she bit down on the left side of my chest. Then she let go, and she bit down on the right. Judy's screaming. Sasha drops back down to all fours and proceeds to bite me on the other thigh. Judy's still screaming, escapes the enclosure, doesn't even try to help me. Thanks a lot, Judy. I have one hand in Sasha's mouth, the other I grab her by the neck and I go, and she lets go. And I quickly get out of the first closure. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And there she was, my beautiful, confused girl, back up at the chain link, rubbing her face with that magnificent purr. She was just playing. We're still friends, by the way. I had severe pressure wounds, both sides of my chest, both of my thighs, 1-inch gash on my hand, but nothing serious, thank God. But it wasn't due to luck. See, it was an 85-degree day, yet I was wearing full-length jeans, a long-sleeve t-shirt, and a hoodie, as you can see, along with my Levi denim wool jacket. Even though for 4 years, I had never had anything happen like that with Sasha. I never took for granted that even though she was a permanent resident, she was raised by human beings, deep down she was still a wild animal. So why am I telling you this story? Well, I can tell Gloria, plan for the unexpected. That's the right thing to do. Or I could teach her that same story or that same concept through a cougar attack story, which I guarantee you she's way more likely to remember. When you teach through story, this is how people connect to your humanity. And when they are your stories, that's going to build trust with a woman who's going to need to trust you a lot. So teach through story, absolutely vital. And after my keynote, I know many of you got my first book, She Handled It, So Can You, but I actually have for everybody here, you just need to make sure that you come by my booth, a signed copy of my brand new book, which is She Handled It Retirement. The quote on the outside is by a good friend and mentor of mine, David Bach, and I've worked with him for a lot of years as well, and I'm just so proud of this book. All of my training, all of my seminars based on She Handled It Retirement. So make sure you go to the booth after that and we'll get you. And you know what? I always want to make sure that I put this caveat. Yes, it's called She Handled It Retirement. Gentlemen, do not just get it to give it to somebody else. Read it and then give it to somebody else, because this book is written after talking to thousands of women about financial concepts, financial services, what are the fears that they have, and all of the concepts that I walk through in this are all through story. So you'll see how this through line, this is how to connect with women. So please make sure you read it before you pass it off. All right, so that brings us to the end of myth number 2. And again, that myth is that women are naturally better at marketing to women. No, we've actually found men can really excel and women can really struggle. It's not only what you say, it's more importantly how you say it. All right, so that brings us to myth number 3, our last one. And this is that traditional, tried and true methods of marketing reach everyone equally. So when we started doing women's events, we started seeing this stark contrast that I've already pointed out to you, where I would have this event open to everyone, and then I would limit who I was mailing to women only. That one I couldn't hit my food minimum, and this one I would have a wait list. And I couldn't figure out why. And I love data, so we started tracking it and asking a lot of questions. And there's 5 things that I discovered. Number 1, the majority of women who attend women-only marketing are single, divorced, widowed, never married. You could have upwards of 95% of your room I've had many events where it's been 70+% single. But you might have 50% that are married. That's fine. Again, this is something that absolutely can be tackled, but those women are being actively marketed to through their spouse. Okay? So that was the first thing that we found. Second thing we found was there's a question that we had on our turn-in sheet that said, what is the number one reason you attended? The number one reason. 57% of women said the number one reason that they attended our event is the invitation said Social Security. That's a total joke. It did not say Social Security. It did not say market risk. It did not lead with some sort of negative headline. The number one reason that 57% of women were in that room is the invitation said women only. They just feel safe being with other women in that kind of environment. And that was one of the things we found. They're just intimidated. It's sitting at a table with men. It's not the presenter. It has no bearing on it. It has everything to do with who they're going to be sitting with and interacting with at the table. So that was number 3 was that they were looking for a unique and tailored message. Number 4 is that the majority of women have not sought help from a financial advisor before. And then number 5, I already alluded to, is they're just intimidated to sit at a table with men. That's what we discovered. But the thing is, these are not victim women. They're incredible mothers and caregivers and mortgage brokers and attorneys and teachers. They're incredible women, but they're intimidated about what they think they should know about their money. And like I had a woman who came to an event of mine. She was making $300,000 in sales a year at Dell. Okay, she was the only woman in her department for over a decade. She started from 0 at 50 at her divorce and had saved $750,000 for retirement when she came to see me. She was 69. It was remarkable. But she told me my invitation was the only one she could ever recall that said women only on it. She was 69. Can you imagine how many invitations that woman received in the prior 15 years? This is common. She is not alone. BlackRock did a study. Only 38% of women invest in the market. 31% of those that don't invest fear losing everything. And 55%, more than half of all women say, investing isn't for people like me. What? People like me? Because you know what's happened? A friend, coworker, the media, another financial advisor has convinced her, if you haven't saved at least $500,000, you're never going to be able to retire. And so she shrinks back, and she doesn't get the education that she needs. This is what our industry has to change. Women are inherently generous, but a woman cannot give what she does not have. Our industry needs to change that to make sure that these women are able to impart in the next generation how to manage their money. This is what we need to work on. And what will often happen is I'll train advisors, or I've talked to advisors who've started marketing women. This is what I start to hear. Oh, gosh. I mean, there's just so many more non-qualified people at these events. I think I'm going to start financially qualifying women before they can come. Please don't do that, and here's why. First of all, let me just reframe something for a second. If you're doubling the number of households in attendance, you're doubling the number of qualified households in attendance. You're also going to double the number of non-qualified households in attendance. But as I said before, women talk. The last thing you want as an advisor is a woman to already be told she's not worthy enough to come to your event because she doesn't have enough money. educate her. And here's why. Because I had a woman who came to an event of mine. I did my job. She said she felt pampered at my event, which I just love that word. And she came in for a meeting. She had 30 grand to her name. There was nothing I could do for her. But I still had to accomplish my one job, which was to leave her better. So, through our conversation, discovered she had a daughter. She was afraid her daughter was going to follow in the same footsteps as her. So I grabbed a book off my shelf, personalized it to her daughter, and gave it to her mom. It wasn't even my book. I didn't have a book at the time, but I had been taught, and this is something you might want to keep in the back of your mind, I was taught by David Bach that he signed other people's books before he had 14 bestsellers of his own. So I took Smart Women Finish Rich, signed it, gave it to her mom. Her mom left my office thrilled. My next event, she brought 3 coworkers. One of them was her cube mate, Debbie. And Debbie was retiring in 2 months with $450,000 and had never sought help from a financial advisor. And she was terrified that I was going to take and lose all of her money. But I did my job at the event. She ended up scheduling an appointment and eventually became a client of ours. Debbie referred more people to our practice than any other person in history. But if we would have qualified her coworker from coming to our event because she only had 30 grand, we would have missed all of those referrals. So please, this is how we change things. And so let me repeat it one more time. I think it's important to know. For 17 years, I didn't know this lead source existed. And then I thought we were going to serve everyone. And then I thought we were serving this little, small, teeny niche. And I realized it was this massive segment that refers 3 times more than men do. It will transform your practice. All right. So I want to give you 2 tips on best serving and connecting with women. Tip number 1. Stay away from marketing gimmicks, okay? We don't need a pink invitation with a lot of hearts and flowers on it. We don't need men in tuxedos, champagne and chocolate fountains, somebody playing the piano. I've heard all of those things, and those are not by themselves bad, okay? I'm not saying they are, but that is not what's drawing a woman in to an event. It's that she has a tailored message for her as a woman, and that she's sitting together with other women at the table, okay? That is what she's looking for. So make sure you stay away from those marketing gimmicks. As people say, pink it and shrink it. It's very, very catchy, but don't do it. Then tip number 2, keep things simple. Okay, if most women have never sought help from a financial advisor before, you need to teach from a 100, 200 level. The best advisors and agents can uncomplicate the complex. My husband, he is brilliant at this. 35-year planner, he could bury her with financial terminology, but he's flawless in keeping it simple. So make sure you keep things simple. All right. So that brings us to the end of myth number 3. And again, that myth is that traditional marketing reaches everyone. We actually found it reaches married women through their spouse. But divorced, widowed women, never married, are often left out. Okay? All right. So as we round the corner, I just have one other thing that I have often heard over the years, especially as I started to have a lot of success with women's marketing. Hey, Arwen, of course you're good at this kind of stuff. I mean, you're just a naturally gifted speaker. You guys, if you could have seen me in the beginning, I was terrible. I will never forget my 5th ever seminar. It was March of 2017. I had no presentation. It was just a whiteboard, a pen, 25 attendees, and my brain. I was practicing my content, practicing. I wanted it all to be perfect. And I was sick. So I arrive at the venue, and I asked them for some tea. So they gave me tea the same way they give it to everybody else, a teacup and saucer. So about 20 minutes into the event, I start to cough. So I go over to grab my tea, but I'm still so nervous. My arm is shaking. So in order to stabilize it, I grab the saucer and it just goes clink, 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 clink. And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, everybody knows how nervous I am. This is awful. So I coughed and sweated my way through that event. And then I get to the end, and I had been taught at that point by a coach that when you got to the end of the event, you just said goodnight and you left. You left the building. That was it. So I get to it was like, good night, Cleveland, right? Mic drop. So I get to the end, and I'm like, and congratulations on making retirement the best time of your life. And I head out the door, straight into the parking garage elevators, and I just turn around and just praying nobody gets in. The door's shut, nobody gets in. I go, oh my God, what is wrong with me? That was so awful. And I looked down. I still had my live microphone on. Woo! Could have gone to the bathroom. I suppose it could have been worse. You guys, I was terrible in the beginning. I'm telling you, 3 people that night took pity on me out of 25 in the room. Those are awful results. But the best thing that happened to me that night, I had to give the same event 2 days later. Quitting wasn't an option. And I just believed enough that if I kept booking myself more of what made me uncomfortable, I would get better. And I did. It took me about 2 months, about 2 months more, and I finally started to hit my stride. I'm telling you, it's about running the miles and doing the work and being willing to practice your content every single week. I am shocked at how many individuals will give an event. They'll take a 4 p.m. appointment. They'll drive straight to a venue. They might do a sound check. They might not do a sound check. And then they'll get up on stage. They'll deliver an event. And then they'll go, why am I getting poor results? Every week, I practiced my content. Every night before I got on stage, I ran through my open and my close in the car before I went into the venue. Early on, I would do them both twice because that was my moneymaker. The best of whatever industry, whatever you do, are the people who are just willing to practice longer and harder and just do the work. And that is how you will get the results. And I told Tom, I'm not here to sell my program. Actually, one of my advisors that I train asked me why I was coming here. He said, is that because you want to have more people in your training program? And I said, no. My training program is it's secondary to what I'm doing right here. I would just do this all day long because it's about awareness to an untapped portion of our market. But I know that there are a lot of advisors just like me who are like, yeah, but if somebody could actually walk me through the pitfalls and help to avoid a lot of the problems, I'd like that. And so for me, it was a moral issue. I needed to create training because I didn't want to just stand up here and tell you it's a really great idea and then send you off on your way and have you fail miserably. So that's why I have free training. Please tap into that free training. I have a book. Read the book. It's going to help you in sales with your female clients. But if any of you are needing more, by all means, check in with me at my table, and Rachel will be back there as well when you come to get your free book. All right, so this last, as I round the corner, we've covered a lot of ground. And I know it's hard to do something new. But I know how truly difficult it is to do something new that no one around you is doing or has the courage to do. Or worse yet, is telling you it doesn't work. When I got into public speaking years ago, 2017, I knew I needed a coach. The problem was, because I was going to sell the company in 2016, we had stopped all marketing. So when I called off the sale, we really didn't have a lot of revenue coming in. But I hired a coach anyway. The first payment bounced. Awesome. But I just knew deep in my core that if I could have somebody walk me through it, talk me off the ledge, which that event the teacup, that was my phone call to my coach saying, it's not working. And I just needed somebody to tell me, you're right there. Your breakthrough is right around the corner. If it's not you, hire another advisor, another agent in your office. Maybe you have a daughter who's coming up in the industry and she wants to do something different that doesn't look like you. Some of you have spouses that want to do that kind of stuff. I generated leads for years, and I was not the person meeting with them. That can be done very successfully. You can talk to my husband, he's here. And yes, tap in to this vein of gold, this tidal wave of trillions already making landfall in your community, and stabilize your lead flow and secure that place among the 12% of advisors that flourish in this business. Yet let me remind you one final time. For the first 17 years of our practice, we did not know this lead source existed. And discovering it, it changed everything for our business and, truthfully, our lives. You make women a priority, you will transform your practice. Millions of women deserve financial security. But you know what? So do you. Thank you.